Hey there, Matt Hamilton, author of Through Travel and Error, Confessions of an Asylum-Seeking Canadian. Welcome back to my online readings. Today is part 2 of A to B, which is a story that deals with my journey from Victoria Falls to Nkhata Bay, Malawi. And when we last talked, I had been dropped off in the hands of hookers with my two buddies, Charlie and John, thanks to a policewoman. This was the safe place to be, and sure enough, it was a brothel. We walked into reception, there were hookers, and I'm assuming they're pimps everywhere. And we did manage to get a room, but needless to say, the day's events leading up to that were quite stressful. So I hope you enjoy the rest of A to B. None of us slept very well, if we slept at all during the night. We were terrified that at any moment the gang of thieving pimps would kick in our door. We weren't as concerned about them taking our stuff as we were about them not wanting to leave living witnesses. The following morning, although still in one piece, it was brutally clear that the three of us were stressed from the previous day's near-death adventure. I could see in Charlie and John's eyes that they were fed up with the pace of the voyage. They really needed to get lakeside and chill out for a couple days. I have to admit that I too was getting pissed off and frustrated. After last night's close encounter, I was even more desperate to begin chilling lakeside with some Malawian cob. We did have an option. We could spend another full day of hard traveling in an attempt to get to Nkhata Bay, or we could travel an easy couple of hours to Nkhata Bay, which was a little lakeside village that I'd heard good things about. It was an easy choice. We decided to go to Nkhata Bay. The mission was simple. All that it involved was a quick hour-and-a-half ride in the back of a pickup truck. Although we were once again packed like sardines in the back of this sketchy vehicle, we did have the luxury of open air and a continuous breeze to keep us cool and eliminate any sense of claustrophobia. The smiles on our faces grew as we spotted the deep blue lake. Our goal of getting away from moving vehicles and planting our butts down on sand was getting closer. Initially, Nkhata Bay appeared perfect. We scored some wheat from the guys at the guest house, which was a tiny campsite consisting of a handful of rustic huts and a tiny restaurant. We dropped our bags, quickly made our way to the beach, and swam in the beautiful aqua blue water of Lake Malawi. Following a couple of spliffs on the sand, the three of us began to unwind. We laughed about our previous day's adventures and viewed them as an amazing experience as opposed to torturous hardships designed by the gods to satisfy their six senses of humor. As we basked in the sun, we discussed the possibility of staying in Nkhata Bay for another couple of days, rather than missioning on to Nkhata Bay the following morning and having to deal with another full day of African travel. I considered the suggestion. That was until we got back to camp. The first sign that something wasn't kosher was that there were a few locals hanging around our room. The moment we opened the door, they followed us in and began eyeing our belongings. They started asking for our possessions and even went so far as to flat out demand cash. They said that they were poor and we, as rich travelers in their country, should naturally give them a chunk of our bucks. Sensing that there was something to be had, more and more locals came into our room with the same aggressive and demanding attitude. I knew from the flimsy lock on the door that our room and belongings were by no means safe. Sadly, I knew that if we ventured too far away from our gear, it would disappear in a matter of moments, never to be seen again. The chilled atmosphere of Nkhata Bay was vanishing very quickly. A quick look from Charlie to John confirmed what I had been feeling as well. We wouldn't be staying in Nkhata Bay any longer than we had to. We would move on the next morning. And that was the plan, or I should say scenario. We got up the next morning and were expecting to take a mini taxi ride along the lake until the driver informed us that there was no ride. The river had washed things away, and the three of us kind of sat there scratching our heads a little in disbelief, kept on questioning him, but he said, look, you know what, I'll give you a ride to the end, maybe a big truck can come through that take you through, but no promises. And so we jumped on board, and sure enough, he was right. He dropped us at this river and there was nothing. So I did what you're supposed to do in that situation. We sat down on the side of the road and did the only thing we could. We waited. I decided to light a cigarette. For those who aren't aware, there is an interesting phenomenon associated with smoking a cigarette and waiting. It doesn't matter if you're waiting for the bus to arrive, your dinner to be cooked, or that phone call to come through. The moment you light your cigarette, the bus comes around the corner, the fillet is done, and mom rings. I don't understand nicotine's capability to speed up time, I just accept it. This particular cigarette must have been a magical smoke because not only did a vehicle arrive within moments after lighting up, but the vehicle in question was a massive lorry, which was the exact type of monstrosity that could negotiate the raging river. We waved the truck down. It came to a stop, and the driver looked down at us from his cab. We asked him if he was going to attempt to cross the river. To our relief, he nodded that he was. With hopeful faces, we asked, borderline begged, the driver if we could hitch a ride with him to our final destination. For $2 each, he said that we could. It was an offer that we happily accepted. By this point in the journey, I think I would have paid anything. We awkwardly pulled ourselves up and over the back of the flatbed, not knowing what cargo may be waiting. After 3 treacherous days of travel, I had given up all hope of comfort. I could only pray that whatever mass occupied the space would leave enough room for the 3 of us. And if it was livestock, I just hoped it wouldn't shit on or eat my backpack. None of us were prepared for what we discovered. After 3 days of traveling and hassles, we were finally rewarded for our misery. The sun must have been shining on someone's ass because the lorry's cargo was nothing other than couches and easy chairs. There weren't any other people or any livestock. It was just the 3 of us, a ton of space, and a multitude and variety of comfort. The driver grinded the vehicle into gear and began trudging towards the water. Amazingly, the lorry handled the raging river as if it were going through a puddle. With water splashing off the truck's side and splashing up and over the rail of the flatbed, the bad boy lorry quickly and easily crossed to the other side of the river. We were soon steaming on our way towards the final destination, Nkhata Bay. We dropped our packs, selected 3 different, extremely comfortable seats, and skinned up a few spliffs, which were the only good things to come out of Nkhata Bay. We settled back underneath the hot Malawian sun and relaxed as blissfully as Greek gods. After 3.5 long, trying days of African travel, it was an enormous relief to know we would be in Nkhata Bay in a couple of hours. I stretched out on one of the couches and smoked my joint. Between the heat of the sun and my overall weariness from the previous 3 days, I fell into a deep, peaceful, overdue sleep within 10 minutes of putting my head back on the comfy cushions. I dreamed of a clear blue bilharzia-free lake. Sometime later, John gently nudged me from my slumber. Even through sleepy eyes, I could tell that John was excited. He was almost schoolgirl giddy. He thrust a burning joint at me and laughed through his big, goofy grin. "Wake up, mate. We're here." And we had arrived in Nkhata Bay, which was where I was hoping to eventually get. So please, I hope you enjoyed that one, and come back next week to find out what happens to me in Malawi. If you want to find out more about myself and or the book, Through Travel and Error, Confessions of an Asylum-Seeking Canadian, have a gander at my website, madmattiesworld.com. Anyways, until next week, I really do hope you have a great one. Take care.